And now, from Glasgow.
So hello there, welcome to stages 9 and 10 of the ET build. Now my partworks are starting to go around a little bit muddled. Obviously, as you know, on a Monday I'm doing the Robocop and the ET in alternate weeks. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, it's actually fortunately, ET is now starting to come 6 issues per month. The Robocop is still going to be coming 4, I believe. So obviously if I do one video a week, it's going to end up with such a big backlog. If I tried to commit to doing 2 issues a week, 2 issues per video, that's all well and good. But when they're complicated issues, it's going to make the video very long. So what I'm going to do is I will have a spare slot coming up on a Wednesday. The Eddie Stobart, the date today should be the 3rd of June, which means Eddie Stobart 135 will be coming out, which means 5 weeks until that's finished. However, that may be delayed due to some issues with parts that I'm really not happy with, so that it might get extended in order for me to make improvements. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to still be doing this fortnightly for the time being, and I will look at actually moving this. This will actually be spread across 2 days. So what's going to happen is there will be a Robocop every other Monday, or possibly every Monday, and then the ET will get moved to Wednesday, possibly with some extra issues on a Monday. It's going to make things very, very confusing, but it really depends on the delivery schedule. Anywho, today we're going to be doing 2 issues. So let's start off with looking at the issue 9. So the first thing we have is this is the eyelid mechanism and mouth servo motor, by the way. So first of all we have eyelid slider, and then we have the slider arm, and I suspect these will all make some kind of sense once we start to build. So these are rings times 2, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one way, one the opposite, so you can actually see both sides. 3. Piece number 4 is the mouse servo motor right hand mount. These are all really nice solid grey plastic, by the way. Piece 5 is a gear 12 tooth 24 tooth times 2, so you've got 12 teeth on the inside, 24 on the outside. I'm just going to trust the process, I'm not going to count the teeth, but all we need to know is we've got less on one side, more on the other. Hello Mr. Invader, we're just going to get invaded by a cat in a moment. So piece number 6, I find it quite interesting how they list these separately. So piece 6 is actually this plastic piece on the motor. This is the screw gear. And then piece 7, you're going to let me film, mister. Piece 7, I'm not going to open the bag till I need them. We've got 2 metal rods, and they are called shaft times 2. Then for piece number 8, we've gone back to the motor, and it is actually the motor, motor 130. And we finish off with just 2 screws. Okay guys, so I'm going to take a cut. I'm going to give this cat some fuss. Usually requires about 10 minutes, then he lets me get on with my own projects. So I'll see you shortly, guys. Okay, so my apologies for that. Poor guy hasn't seen me for 3 weeks, so he does try to take advantage of when I am about. But I managed to wade him off with a few little dreamies. So we need to begin with taking piece 901 and we're going to be placing this onto here. Now, if you remember in the last few packs, we've got this cog there that's exposed. We've got the motor system there, we've got that cog there, and we've got 2 rails there. So as you can see, there's some cogs on there, and that's going to fit in there like so. So when this motor goes up and down, it's going to move this. It doesn't say that it needs to be placed in a specific place, whether we place it there or there, but we do know from this that it kind of has this roundy system. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our piece number 3, the rings. We're going to place those over. I'm going to place it in the middle. Before we do that, sorry, my apologies, it is asking us to do a little bit of grease. So we did get some grease in a previous issue, and what I'm going to do is squeeze a little bit of grease out. I'm using a cocktail stick today. Just get a little bit of grease out, and what we're going to do is just place some grease on those cogs like so, and then we can just move that along. I don't advise doing this too much. We just place a little bit more on there, and just go round. You don't need to put loads of grease on, guys. I did have a comment about my previous issues. Perhaps I did need to put more grease on there, but you don't need to put like the whole packet on. There we go. What we're doing is we're just reducing the friction when these pieces rub together as they go round, and I am managing to get grease everywhere, but this is all interior, so it won't show too much, and it won't actually hurt to have a little bit of grease there either, for the pure reason that this is actually going to be rubbing up and down. So if you get a little bit on there, don't panic. So I'm going to place that on there. Then we're going to pop these 2 little rings on there. Now I'm doing them, if you imagine them as donuts that have been cut in half, I'm going to actually do the outside of the donut facing up. And then we're going to get our screws. And remember that these are going into plastic. Now these are countersink screws. That means that the heads will go nicely into the recess on the ring. We don't need oil on these because they're going to be cut into plastic. Let me just put that one on. That's not going in very well, and that's because of the angle that I'm screwing it in. So I'm just going to pop them in just enough to bite, and then I can move this around. There we go. I'll be honest with you, this isn't the best screwdriver to use because it's quite small. So do make sure that goes in straight. This one is trying to go in at an angle, and it does make the job harder. But what we're doing, we don't want to tighten this too much. We want to make sure this still moves. It's just securing this in. There's no movement up and down, so that's absolutely fine. And then I'm just going to run that up and down just once or twice, just to spread some of the grease onto the cogs. Okay, so the next stage, we're going to be needing piece number 2, which is the slider arm, and it seems to want to go in. Here we go. So on the eyelid we have this little hole there, and you see we have hooks either side of this. We're just going to pop that onto there, and there we go, it clicks nicely on there. So that's going to create the arm, and then the other end is going to click onto there. That doesn't want to go. Okay, maybe I've got this the wrong way round. Yes. Okay guys, so my apologies, I had this the wrong way round. What you will notice, this arm actually has an arch. So we want the arch. Sorry, mister, I've given you a dreamy and now I'm trying to build. So this arch was to go like this, just to give it a bit of clearance. I'd actually placed it that way round, so you can see I lost the clearance. So we're just going to tuck that into there, and I'm trying so hard to work around a cat. So there we go. So because we've got that arch there, as it moves backwards and forwards, you see there's no interference. So that's what we're going to end up with. I am trying very, very hard to work around this cat, but it's very difficult. You are making my life difficult, aren't you, mister? Can I be mean and pick you up? There he goes, my good man. Okay, no, he's just coming back. Right, so the next step then is we want to take our piece number 4. Come on, mister. Sorry, guys, I'm going to take a small cut. Okay, so we should now be left with our housing for the next servo motor. And what we want to do is take our housing, and I'm going to position it this way. I'm really struggling to keep this magazine up. So what we want to do is we're going to take our 2 shafts and we're going to pop them into the 2 holes there. You'll see that the housing, one is a little bit higher than the other. That's obviously to make the cogs sit higher. And they're just going to pop straight in there like so. Nice and simple. And then we take our cogs and we're going to place the cogs over the top. Now I'm going to place that one first. Sorry, apologies. Before we do that, little bit of grease onto the actual shafts, which sounds a little bit odd to me, but in fact I'm not going to put the grease on the shafts. I'm going to put the cogs on the inside of the cogs, like so, and then that will grease those shafts up as it goes in. So a little bit of grease, there we go. And then once we've done that, one can go onto there like so, and the second one goes on there. And what you'll end up with is this second cog on the bottom is going to engage with the top of the cog on the second. As you can see, one rotates the other. Okay, the next step is to take our motor, and this will need some grease along these cogs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slightly bigger dollop on, and I'm just going to grease fairly heavily along there. I'm not going to do the whole lot because as the cog goes round it will spread that grease. Okay, and then this is going to go in like so, and I've placed the wires so that they're facing towards the middle, and you'll see that everything's engaging and the grease is making contact. Right, so that is it for that step. So if you're doing one magazine a week, this is where we'll stop, other than the fact that we are going to be testing something that we've already done. I don't know why I'm picking my finger up. So what we need to do then is grab 2 AAA batteries, and we'll get our little contraption, I forget what it's called, little battery box. We'll pop a battery in there, make sure it's switched off. I'm having trouble. Right, so that's off. So we're actually going to be testing this motor because it's going to connect with the eyelids. And remember to go black to black. Black to black, and then when we switch it on, it should control that motor, which will control the cogs, which will then control this slider, which will then control the eyelids. So wish me luck, guys. Why is mine not working? That's interesting. Okay, so it might well be that I've done this a little bit too hard. It could be a lot of things, guys. So let's loosen this off. Oh, I see. It's only going to go one way. So if I now reconnect these, that's interesting. Right, so let me just, yeah. So each connector must be matched with a cable colour. Activate the switch in the box, deactivate it once the mechanism has been moved and the eyelids are closed. Manually push. So what we've got is obviously the circuit board will control the flow of the eyelids. But if we connect it one way, the eyes open. If we turn that around and connect it the other way, you'll see they close. Let's see if I can, let's get some bottles of goodies just to make a stand for you. So connect it one way. You'll see they open. Connect it the opposite way and they close. So that's that done. So this really is going to be a case of trust the process. But that is that issue done. And we have another invasion from a cat. We have a very needy cat today. So I'm going to take a cut and then we'll start on stage 10. So on to stage 10, and we have got the mouse servo motor left hand mount, which is, we can already tell that's going to go on there like so. We have got these two, I'm going to call them dials, they're called drive wheels times 2. So these are obviously going to go round and round. We have got another cog, but this time it's got a square hole. And that is called gear 42T, so that's got 42 teeth. Again, I'm going to trust the process and I'm not going to count them. Then we have a square shaft, so the fact that it's square suggests to me it's got something to do with that, perhaps. We'll see. Then we have got a switch. And I think this is, at the moment, I'm thinking, well, how's this going to work? It must be to do with the circuit board. But now we've got a switch. So that is making me think something to do with the switches. So that's interesting. And then we have got TP and PTP and FTP screws. Now there are 5 screws in there. I don't know if you can see, but they are 2 different kinds of screws. Let me get them out and I'll show you. There's only 5 to play with today. So we have got 3 screws that look like this. This is the plastic, and you see they've got a rounded head, a normal screw, and then we've got 2 FTPs, which are countersunk screws. You see they've got the triangular head. So we need to just be careful which screws we use. So we are going to begin with the square shaft and the cog, and we are going to place, you'll see there's a little collar about a third of the way up. We're going to place the longer piece into the cog, and the cog wants a little collar pointing downwards, and that will go in all the way like so. So you'll see there's a little tab at the top. Now that is going to go into there like so. That will link up with that cog there, and you'll see there's a bit sticking out on the other side. I do apologize, this isn't connected in. And then what we want to do is then start greasing up some of these cogs. Lots of greasing up to do on these cogs, I'm afraid. So I'm going to do what I'm calling a cheat method, which is I'm just going to place one big blob on one of the cogs, and we'll just let that work its way in as the mechanism is used. It will spread quite nicely, I promise you. There we go. So 2 big blobs of grease there. And then what we want to do is place our housing on. You'll see that that connects nicely there, and then there's a bit sticking out there, and that will be secured with the PTP screws, which are the rounded head screws, like that, and one each into each of these holes, like so. And I think this, there we go. So they go in nicely like that. So because we are going into plastic, don't over tighten them. So I'm just going to go until the resistance changes. And because this is very good quality tough plastic, it will be difficult to over tighten them. You will definitely know when it's there. There we go. Check the mechanism. That mechanism is not coming loose. So that is absolutely fine. Now, I just need to take a quick short break. I've got grease everywhere, as you would expect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little bit of, I'm actually using paint thinners. But the reason I'm using paint thinners, it's a mix of water and alcohol. And that will clean that up quite nicely. And it won't damage the plastic. This is what we use when we're cleaning models on scale models. But basically it's an alcohol-based product. So there you go. Let's cleaned all that grease off nicely. So basically any kind of alcohol-based cleaner is probably one of your best bets. And obviously I want to get it off my fingers as well. So maybe consider using gloves when you do this. But that's that done anyway. So what we're going to do now is getting our other screws ready, which are actually going to be plastic screws, but they're the countersunk ones. We're going to be placing these, I forgot what they call them, these bits. They're going to be placed on here. Now, what they're asking us to do is to make sure, you see this little tab there, it looks like a screw hole. That needs to be facing downwards. And when we come to do the other side, that too needs to be placed downwards. Whoops, try not to drop it. And what I mean by downwards, if you look at these 2 screw holes there, if you keep that to the left, down is there. This isn't the most successful job I've ever done. Now, that will just rest on there. So we pop our screw in there and make sure that goes in there. And then that should tell you when it's in. No play on that one. So this wants to go, if that's the down position, then that's the down position there. That's right. I'm calling that the down position, even though it's not exactly the same as that one. Remember, it's a square peg, so it can only go in one of 4 ways. And I'm just going to take a cut in a second, guys, because I've got a terrible feeling my microphone is muted. Okay, so it turns out it wasn't, but I just have this panic attack. Now I seem to be getting a grease accumulation everywhere now. So obviously I didn't clean it up from before, or I've got some grease on my hands. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a naughty. It's not telling us to test these, but I'm going to. I think it'd be easy. If there's a problem now, it will be so much easier to fix. So the theory is we have that motor that then operates 2 other cogs, which then operates this shaft, which makes these go round. And as you can see, they are going round. So I'm going to just make those stop in roughly the down position, so at least I know that that motor is working. We could have actually tested that motor before we actually installed it, but you know, that's the way it is. Right, so it's getting slightly complicated now. We need to take our mechanism and we need to turn it upside down by the looks of things. No, we need to keep it the right way up. Why is this confusing me? Guys, I'm just going to take a quick cut. Okay, I can see why I got confused. We actually want to turn it upside down. We want to remove this. So I'm not 100% happy with that, because they told us to put it in and then they're telling us to take it out. So a bit of a criticism. If you wanted us to take it out a bit later on, don't tell us to put it in the first place. But you know, it is what it is. So that's coming out. So what we are then going to do is we're going to be needing the switch, which is here. And what we are going to do now, the magazine's got it this way round. So we've got, this is upside down, and if you've got the eyes to the left of you, you want this switch pointing down. Now, just at this mechanism there, you see you've got two tiny pegs. You've got two holes in the switch, and that is going to go in. Oh, that's just resting on there, isn't it? Right. So that will go in like so, and I can see what's going to happen now. This is actually going to be quite clever. So you'll see there's a notch there. As that notch spins round, it's going to catch that switch, and it's going to tell it to do something different. Okay, so the wires for this, I'm looking for some kind of hole. Right, okay, so just there's a little hook. It's very difficult to see because it's black on black. I'll try and do this with tweezers. So what we want to do, in fact, it'll probably be easier to pop it in before we put the switch in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to straighten these wires a little bit, and I'm just going to loop them like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and catch that hook. So there we go, that's now hooked in. Okay, and then what we can do, we can now pop our switch in on those two little pegs, and then we can just pull this wire taut. I'm not going to use the word tight, because tight could pull it all out, but taut as in there's no bends in there. And then this is going to go, it doesn't really tell us where it goes. Okay, so next it wants to go through that hole down there. Can you see my finger underneath? So we're going to aim our switch, and I'm going to use my tweezers again, I think, because it's a little bit of a fiddly passage. I'm just using my tweezers really as a pokey device. It's not a lot of excess room, guys. It's a case of grabbing with the tweezers, push it through, and then hope it connects. Maybe if I give myself a little bit more slack. I'm going to use the back of a paintbrush as well. Use anything you can to get it through, guys. If it gets it through. So I have a feeling my head just got in the way there. Right, there it is there. I can see what we're doing now. Right, so if you push it one way, doesn't want to go. If you push it another way, if you twist it, I think it's going to go through. Right. So it really needs to go that way, not that way. So this is really my cup of tea. You know I like the fiddly bits. There we go. Be careful, this part is going to fall off. Okay, so that's in. So we're going to place this bit back in. Okay, so now that is in, we can place this motor back in, and we need to make sure this peg there connects well with that. So I'm going to suggest, see, that doesn't want to go. There we go, that's gone. Right. I don't know if it feels right. I'm definitely going to give this another test. So this is the mechanism for the eyes. The eyes. Right, so that's gone back in okay. Right, so I'm gonna test this, because obviously any changes we make, it's not telling us to test. So if you don't want to test, that's fine. Oh, okay. So that switch is actually an off. So now the eyes only go one way. That's odd, isn't it? Okay, guys, don't test it. It's getting very strange. It is a case of really having to test the process. Right, that is that stage done, guys. We are left with this, and I'm trying to figure out how and where that goes. It's got something to do with the mouth, isn't it? So that's going to be quite interesting. Absolutely no idea, guys. No idea, but we'll figure it out in the next issue. So that is that issue. I now have eyes that are stuck in one position. We have the eyelids that only go one way, and I can't remember what this, oh, this is a switch. So yeah, getting a bit odd, isn't it? But at least the eyelids work. The eyes kind of work. There we go. Don't play about with the motors too much. So yeah, it's getting a little bit odd, but it's a case of trusting the process. Right, guys, so because we have got the next issues available to us, the next issue I'm only going to do a single issue, which is the mouth servo motor mechanism. And now that I've built this, I can see we're going to be adding to this, so it will make a little bit more sense. And then the week after, or the issue after, we are going to be doing a double issue, which will be the upper structure of the head, and then we'll be doing issue 14 will be a single issue. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will hope to catch you in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye bye.